Singapore, a bustling metropolis in Southeast Asia, home to the Lions, once ranked 72nd amongst all FIFA nations.
Can they score 8? A good cross by Nazri.
Abbas dropping deeper, and a wonderful ball to Fandi Ahmad. Can he get to this before Hassan Miska? He has, and it's a wonderful goal for Singapore.
Has now spiraled down towards the bottom 200s.
Zemans membaca gerakan dan hampir bahaya. Keluar kali ada peluang. Belakang satu gol. Kemasukan.
Can you bring the Raw back to this island city? This is Azaris, and in this video, I'll be guiding you through the FM20 Singapore editor data. Hi, Azaris here. In this video, I'll be going through the Singapore editor data for FM20 for versions 20.3 and 20.4 onwards that I have made. If you haven't downloaded the editor data, you can find the link in the description below. Before I begin, please do like and subscribe. Thank you very much. Let's get on with it. Yeah, down here. For those of you who do not know how to install editor data, I advise you to check out my video. Click on that, watch that, then come back and watch this video. This editor data is specifically made to make managing a club in Singapore that much more fun. For me anyway. Hope you guys enjoy it too. So we'll start off with the top league in Singapore. Now in real life, top league in Singapore is a closed system. You don't have a promotion relegation kind of thing. But before I continue, I'd like to apologize all the Albirex Niigata fans out there, because I've forgotten to change the name of the club. Should have done that. I'm truly sorry. You guys have to bear with it. Alright, so really I am. It truly it's an oversight on my part. But all the teams here are the teams that are in the current Singapore Premier League. There was a video that I saw from someone who said something about the foreign teams in Singapore. Well, there's only 2 foreign teams in the Singapore Premier League, but if you go further down leagues, you'll find out there's even more. Okay? DPMM is one of the teams. They're a Brunei team. They're the only professional Bruneian team, and they usually play in leagues outside of Brunei in order to improve the quality of their players. Most of their players are national team players anyway. And then we have a Niigata Unicorn, which is actually Albirex Niigata. It's their Singapore affiliate team. Their main team plays in the J League, I think in Division 2 right now. These are the 2 main foreign teams in the Singapore Premier League which do exist now. Then we have stalwarts Geylang International. We used to have Warriors FC, but they were removed because of financial problems, and Tanjong Pagar, which is also another stalwart of the Singapore top leagues, is now back in. And then we have Lion City Sailors, a team that has recently been acquired by Forrest Lee, who you know is the CEO and owner of the C Company and Garena. And we also have the Young Lions. Young Lions are actually a Singapore under-23, all under-23 players primed to be the next national team player base. So this is the Singapore Premier League. These are the teams. There's only 9 of them, but I've included 1 relegation spot, just to keep it interesting. Now, right below Singapore Premier League, we have the NFL Division 1. Most of the teams here, especially Yusof Centec, who won the 2019 NFL Division 1, the complement of teams here should be correct. There's 1 promotion slot that I opened up so that whoever wins this can be promoted up to the Singapore Premier League, and there's 2 relegation slots. This is actually true in real life. Other than that, there's nothing much else to say about this division. On to the next one, which is the NFL Division 2. Right, there's 2 promotion slots up and 2 relegation slots down. This is somewhat true to real life. I cannot confirm the makeup of the teams due to there being very limited or inconsistent information that I could find through the Football Association of Singapore's website, unfortunately. So whereas the NFL Division 1 had 10 teams, the NFL Division 2 has 12 teams in it. And from the NFL Division 2, you could possibly get relegated to the Singapore Island-wide League, which is the 4th tier. And it is officially the last semi-pro tier of the whole Singapore football pyramid. So you might be having some amateur clubs here, but most of them would be semi-pro clubs. There's a difference between this Singapore Island-wide setup as compared to real life. In real life, they have 4 groups of 4 teams. I did try to set that up. It was a bit boring to play. Even with the cup games added in, there was a lot of gaps in between. I decided to just lump all the teams together and make it a 16-team league. Now remember when I said that there are more foreign teams in the lower leagues? Well, the Cosmopolitan League, which is the 5th tier, comprises fully of 100% of foreign teams. Now, before I go to that, look here, I had to create a Vanarama type kind of system, so that I can incorporate as much of the social leagues as I can. So I've called it the Singapore Amateur Social League. This doesn't exist in real life. I just did it so that it pulls all the social leagues into a single kind of tier. It's easier for the promotion and relegation things to happen. This is one of the more interesting leagues. Actually, all the leagues in the bottom tiers are quite interesting. But it's one of the more interesting leagues because you have all foreign teams. You have the One Latini FC, which comprise mostly of Italians, right, and Southern European nations. You have Aioli FC, which comprises of French, and then you have Nippon FC, Japanese. Gaelic Lions are Irish, and the majority of the other clubs, the German Swiss All-Stars, German Swiss players, Hibernians are Scottish players, the English, Olympique Gaulois, French, Singapore Football Club, ironically, is full of English players. Vikings are Norwegian players, and TGA are English players. And yes, if you do manage these clubs, you will get regions that are from those countries, and it will be fun to manage any of these teams. But for the Singapore Amateur Social League as a whole, there's no restrictions on the number of foreigners that you can play in your games or that you can have in your squad. However, bear in mind that once you get promoted up into the Singapore Island-wide League, please note that you are only allowed to play 3 foreigners, and there's a maximum squad size of 25 players. What it means by being a foreigner is that you can play, let's say if you're a French side, say if you're Olympique Gaulois, for example, you can have 22 French players, which are considered local in this context, but any Singaporean players that you bring in are considered foreign. Please bear that in mind, that even though you're in the Singapore leagues, but you're a French side or you're an English side, those are the nationalities that are considered local. Singaporeans who play for you, they're considered foreign, okay? Now, the Cosmopolitan League has a supporting second league, which is called the Equatorial League, right? So you have your AOE under-19s, you have there's casuals, CBD, B teams, and all that. So it is the only one where there is a second tier. However, I've decided to create the second tier for all the social leagues that I've created in this setup. As you can see, there's 3 promotion spaces, which means there's 3 separate leagues in the 5th tier that will relegate down to this league. Let's have a look at those leagues. One of those leagues is the ESP Zen League. The ESP Zen in real life is a social league. They have a multitude of leagues that they run in a year, in a calendar year. They have their Sunday League, Youth League, Saturday Leagues, Midweek Leagues. I specifically chosen the Midweek League to be included into the game, namely because, number one, as you can see here, they have a lot of the teams that are from the Cosmopolitan League. Some of them are not playing in this league, but I just added a B team and just placed it there. It's easier for me to complete a league like this with the information they provided and to fill it up with, with the B teams from the Cosmopolitan League. There's 2 teams here that are foreign teams, that you need to take note of. One is Home Hunt FC. They primarily have players from England and parts of Europe. And then there is Spanish World FC, who had just won this league 2019 season. Of course, have Spanish players. Then you also have Rivals FC, whose players are mostly from England. It's sort of like another league that has foreign players in it, right? That you could choose to. However, if you were in this league, the only teams you would be able to choose the Rivals, Home, and Spanish World. It's only 3 teams that you can choose here if you were to play in this league. The last and not least of the leagues is the X League. Now, the X League in real life is somewhat similar to the ESPN League. They have a multiple number of leagues. They have the weekend leagues, the Saturday and Sunday leagues, senior leagues, and also the midweek leagues. I have forgotten which league I took this from, but this particular league is primarily full of local clubs, with the exception of a USSR United, which you can guess from the name is a Russian-based team. So if you're interested in taking up a team from Singapore to bring up to the top tier, I would suggest trying it in the X League. There's some cool teams, like Barcelona. Now, there is a disclaimer that I would like to put forward here, is that this team, Friends United, is not a team that currently exists in any of the lower leagues, right? It's a team that I used to play for when I was young, and I really had this hope that it would become a real team that would be competing in the Singapore leagues. I've just added it in to give a bit of flavor for when I play it. Feel free to choose the team or not. I also do plan to do a save where I manage Friends United up to the top tier. That will be coming very soon. Now that we're done with the leagues, let's go and see the cups. The main cup for the whole of Singapore is the RHB Singapore Cup, which is our FA Cup. Now, this cup consists of teams all the way down to the lower leagues, Metropolitan, Equatorial, and even down to teams that do not have a division. Next up, we have the Singaporean League Cup, which is basically like the League Cup in England, except it's only for professional sides. So that means that it will only consist of teams from the Singapore Premier. Yeah, so it's basically like their own special cup. Next on the list is a cup that once existed. I was quite an avid follower of this cup, mainly because one of my favorite local teams, Geylang International, has won it quite a few times. As you can see here, I have reactivated this cup to serve as a cup for the lower leagues. So it will span from the Equatorial League all the way up to NFL Division 2. As you can see here, these are all the teams available for the cup. Now, before I begin explaining about this cup, I would like everyone to take a moment and of silence, memory of a great player in the history of Singapore football, Dollah Kassim, as it has been close to 10 years since his passing. Moment of silence, everyone. He was a great guy. I went to school with his son. Yeah. Anyway, a Dollah Kassim Cup does exist in real life and is held annually. But that is a cup that is like a match between celebrity former football players, like that. Only held like one game once a year. But I thought it would be more fun to expand it. This Memorial Cup comprises of teams from the Singapore Amateur and Social Leagues all the way down to the Equatorial Leagues and teams without division, and they also include under-19 teams from the Singapore Prime League. Now, I've not gone through the Singapore Prime League because the Singapore Prime League is a division with teams that you are unable to manage, mostly comprising of reserves and under-19s. So that's why I've not gone through them, but they have been included into this. This is the Dollah Kassim Cup for the lower leagues. And there's one more cup that I've also added due to recent developments, and that is the Sharif Samad Tribute Trophy. Now, for those of you who do not know Singapore football as much, Sharif Samad is the son of Samad Al-Lapiche, who was playing in the same team as Dollah Kassim. Sharif Samad was a professional footballer. He had played in a number of S-League sides, and he even represented the national team during his time. He was a player that was gone too soon. The teams included in this cup are all from the Singapore Amateur and Social Leagues, all the way down to the Equatorial League. Those are the teams that are included for this cup. Next up is the Cosmopolitan Cup. The Cosmopolitan Cup exists for teams in the Cosmopolitan League as well as the Equatorial League. So you have those teams, they do play each other. Organizers of the Cosmo League do organize this cup on a yearly basis, so I found it apt to include it in, give a sense of realism to the game, and hopefully, like, you know, if the Cosmo League organizers do see this, if you would like to give me more information on how the cups are drawn out, you know, days that are being played, because I couldn't find information that I wanted, no prize money and all that, please do get in touch with me and do let me know. The last of the cups in this database is one that I had to make up. It's the ESPZen X Cup. So it includes teams from the ESPZen League as well as the X League. Now, in real life, the ESPZen leagues, they have their own cup. The X League has their own. So I decided to merge cups together. There's not a lot of teams, you know, in the lower leagues, as mainly because I couldn't find accurate information about the clubs that are participating, the leagues that are, you know, in the home grounds and all that. Otherwise, I would have expanded the X League. I would have expanded the ESPZen Cup, and we could have had their own cups that way. But I just couldn't find proper information, and then it's unfair for me to tier the different Sunday, Saturday leagues according to how I feel. You know, it just wouldn't be fair. So I decided to create this cup to mimic the ESPZen Cup as well as the X Cup. And that wraps up the deep dive into the Singapore editor data. I hope it has been insightful for you and helpful in you picking out a team to start in the Singapore leagues. Again, if you haven't downloaded this editor data, the link is in the description below. Please do like this video. Please do subscribe. Click the notification icon to get updates on when I would post new content. There is the Brunei editor data and the Timor-Leste editor data that I am currently doing up and testing. Videos for that will be out soon as well, along with other FM content that I'm currently preparing. I hope you guys enjoy that too when it comes out. Also, please do check out my Patreon page. Your support would help me create more FM content that I hope that you would enjoy. This has been Azuris. Keep playing FM. Peace out.